Hello, I'm Damian Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by Telstra. They hadn't beaten a top 8 team all season, but Dees fans can rejoice after Melbourne fought out a brilliant win over the Eagles in Perth yesterday to book a final spot. Matthew Lloyd and Jimmy Bartel, hello.
Damo, great win there by the Dees, getting on the road, a big win against a top 8 side. Their finals are finally booked. Melbourne fans can rejoice, but for me, Lloyd, it was the adjustments they made from last week. You know, we're pretty critical of the way they used the ball against the Swans by just dumping it inside 50. They started to hit the ball short. They had that composure about them, but also their jobs on McGovern, Shuey and even Elliott Yeo in the first half was a super effort from the Melbourne Footy Club.
Yeah, Damo, they started well, then lost the lead with 7 minutes to go and then found a way to win. It was a brilliant win on the road. And I just love what Harms has done through the midfield. You've got guys like Brayshaw and Melsham back in that side. This was the start. Look at it. To get to 26-0, even though they came back, it takes a lot of energy and effort for West Coast to get back into this game. And then this is the last quarter. We just touched on it. Obviously, Barras makes a decision here, a bit of confusion with the West Coast defence. Melsham kicks it up. I think he's third of his 4 goals. And just a ripper win in that. You were there, Jim. The heat of the battle and the noise of West Coast, that's a ripper win.
Yeah, exactly right. It was tough conditions. It was hot, but also the Eagles losing Darling early certainly affected them. They looked a little bit flat, the Eagles, after a big emotional win. You know, that last kick, McGovern after the siren. A number of the top sides were a little bit flat this week.
They've done it well, Melbourne. I know they've copped it, and maybe rightly so at times, but without Lever for the season effectively, Viney's missed a massive chunk of footy. Hibberd only returned yesterday. They're now going to have to do whatever it is they do without Hogan. But I reckon well done. They've got themselves into the 8 with a full game spare, and I think now they've got there, the relief and I suppose the easing off of pressure that creates could allow them to do something pretty significant.
Yeah, they're dangerous, and with that, they didn't lose much with Hogan out. Wiedemann looked pretty good yesterday too, didn't he?
Yeah, they didn't lose much to their system, but Damo, they play a lot of football that stands up in finals football, which is really good in clearances and really good at contested footy.
Yep. The ladder, intriguing for so many weeks. It now looks set from a top 8 perspective, but the machinations still are at play in around 23. Obviously, that's the 8 as it stands, and Port Adelaide and North Melbourne. North Melbourne cannot make it. 6 plays 7 and 4 plays 5 this week. Things could change.
Yeah, I think Hawthorn Sydney, whoever wins that, will get the double chance in 4th spot. And West Coast have to beat Brisbane too, Damo, to hold on to home final and maybe a passage through to the grand final.
Yeah, as we've seen all year this year, Brisbane are no knockover at the Gabba there. They can play some fast and exciting footy, and we wonder how much yesterday took out of the Eagles.
Yep. We've got a reigning grand finalist missing the 8. We've also got Port Adelaide missing the 8 and Essendon missing the 8. Essendon brought in 3 big names and has missed the 8. And I don't care what John Worsfold said, that is a wasted season in my eyes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, I think the footy they played in the second half of the year just shows what they can do. They were good enough to play finals. They didn't make it. And Adelaide, what a disastrous season they also had, Jim.
Of those 3, who's the most damning not making it?
Oh, probably the Crows, because you played in the grand final the year before and you kept pretty much the same list. I know you lost Lever, but, you know, Tom Doedee has been a great replacement. Brodie Smith missed the majority of the year, but playing in a grand final and then missing the finals, that's a big disappointment.
Damo, Port Adelaide was set for top 4 as well and have lost 5 of their last 6 games, including 1 to Fremantle. So Ken Hinkley would be devastated with what's gone on there.
Yeah. North Melbourne, who we just touched on, not going to make it. They had a horrendous third quarter against the Western Bulldogs last week, and it was a pretty ordinary second quarter against the Crows yesterday. Their season's just fallen away, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, but it's been a fantastic year, especially from their senior players. They've carried this side. They've used the least amount of players, and you can understand why they're targeting so many outside run midfield types, because the Crows had 100 more possessions than them yesterday. So they clearly know what they want and how to fill it out. They've got the key posts locked away, you know, some senior and experienced players, Lloydie.
They gave their best, Damo, just weren't good enough.
They did, and they got to within 3 points late in their game, and Ben Brown may have should have got a free kick, but the ball went back the other end, and then Eddie Betts sealed the result with this. It's one of the marks of the year. I'm still going to go with Isaac Kearney, but gee, he gets up here.
Oh, it was a brilliant mark. Eddie hasn't had a great season, to be honest. Just 10 disposals, 1 goal yesterday, but the reaction too from the big ruckman here was brilliant. Brilliant mark from Eddie Betts, and just watching Todd Goldstein and Sam Jacobs afterwards. Look at them. I don't know what to say, the big tall ruckman, but they said, oh, well, it was a great grab. too good. Adelaide in the end, and North fought back hard. It was brave last quarter, but didn't do enough work early.
Yeah. We've had quite a few issues, multiple issues with crowd behaviour during the course of this season. There was another incident at Etihad Stadium yesterday when a bottle of Coke was thrown onto the ground and very nearly hit Dale Thomas here. Jimmy?
Yeah, I was pretty strong on this when I first saw it, but now we've got a bit of context around it. There's obviously some reasons behind this, but you're right, crowd behaviour as a whole across the entire league hasn't been great, and I just go to the fact that if you pay your money, you don't get to act like that. You've still got to be respectful, and I'm all for support. You can boo, you can hiss, you can cheer, do all that, but let's not overstep the line.
Yeah, and the context to which you refer is a special needs requirement there for the person who did throw the bottle. Lin Jong on the ground. He can get banged up, can't he, in various ways. And you can see here in the third quarter against Carlton yesterday, cops this really heavy hit, and yet 30 seconds later, the ball comes his way and you'll see what he gets to do. But he can cop a knock.
Oh, yeah, he's almost got a highlight reel this year. He can cop a falcon to the face. He gets the stray elbows. He's been so unlucky, but there's no doubting Lin Jong's toughness. Look, if he gets a good run at footy, we can actually see the best of him, but it just unfortunately gets hurt in the strangest ways.
They've had a disappointing year, the Dogs, but at least the last 3 weeks have beaten St Kilda, North and Carlton. Richmond this week, they'll set themselves for a grand final. It'll be interesting to see how close they can get in the build for 2019.
Yep. Although, heads up that our series of wash-ups begins this week. It's our club-by-club guide. Every team, what went right, what went wrong, who's under pressure to keep their spot on the list, how your side can step up and improve next year. So keep an eye out this week for our wash-ups on Carlton, the Gold Coast Suns and St Kilda. The wash-ups start tomorrow. To the Q clash and the exchange between Dane Zorko and Touk Miller after the siren. Let's go back to what happened the first of the Q clashes this year. Round 5, post-match. We addressed this on Access All Areas at the time, and you can work out for yourselves what Dane Zorko there says to Touk Miller. We then fast forward to the most recent weekend just gone, where again the two men find themselves together, Dane Zorko and Touk Miller, and I think this is even worse. So this is far worse, and you'll get a proper shot of this from the reverse angle as well. He's done so much right, Dane Zorko, this year and over the past 3 years. 3-time best and fairest winner, All-Australian last year. But this is not right, what he's doing to Touk Miller. No,
especially now he's got the captaincy tag as well. You've just got to be a bit bigger than that in these sort of situations. Now, Miller, after that first time we saw that first instance, thinks he's got the edge on Zorko. And that sort of behaviour, reiterates that to Miller here as we see this being played out from the different angle. It's not great from Dane, and we know he's better than that, but...
What would you do, Lloydie, in that situation? With that moment where he's thrust the hand out in a very provocative and I think unsportsmanlike way?
He's done well there, Touk Miller. He's such a good guy, he's shaking his hand, but a lot of people would say he didn't deserve the hand there, Dane Zorko.
Would you have shaken it, Jim?
It was bad sportsmanship, sour grapes. He's been beaten twice and he didn't like it.
Would you have shaken the hand?
I think Touk's risen above it and shaking the hand.
Yeah. We touched on Port Adelaide potentially missing the 8. I mean, they still can mathematically make it. But, Lord, you did touch on it before. 5 of 6 losses in the past 6 games.
Their game style's been horrible, Damo. They've just been too conservative with the ball. We spoke about Essen earlier in the year, chipping the ball backwards and sideways. They just wanted to control the ball, and it's why they can't score. They've averaged 67 points a game over 5 weeks. And I just wanted to highlight a piece of vision against Collingwood. A united team, the Magpies, versus a team who's got great players on paper. This is still side bottom on the mark. Jack Homps kicks the ball. The ball's in dispute right here. There's Robbie Gray and in front, and there's Jordan De Goey behind him. So the ball rolls on. Taylor Adams kicks the ball forward. The ball's in dispute again. I see Westhoff drift to the back of the pack. Grundy goes forward. So again, an honest team versus a team that picks and chooses. The ball rolls on again. There's Gray, doesn't want to chase. De Goey works hard forward. He didn't want to defend. Gray would run harder than that if he was forward. And then you see what happens. The man that was on the mark kicks the goal while Homps is chasing. So, to me, after that, it was 7-0 in that last quarter until Port got one in the last 50 seconds. But sums up Port Adelaide and sums up why Collingwood, with all their injuries, have just been a super team.
Jimmy, they've had a lot of high moments this year. They're now actually accompanying some of these goals with some sizzle. Yeah, some sizzle.
Look, this has been the more light-hearted nature from Collingwood. We've seen Nathan Buckley with the beard, and we see a lot of the younger players. The Dally Alley Challenge, if you can do it at home, it's gone worldwide. We see a few of the players. I think Oxley's got it wrong there. He's given it a good crack. Brodie Grundy, but we'll see shortly. Eddie Maguire needs some translation here from his son up in the crest. What's going on here? Because this is how you do it. You spin the hand over the back. It is well done by Collingwood. And I like seeing players have that lighter side of the game. You stay free and easy, and often you play your best footy that way.
Yep. The Hawks did what they had to do. It was an ugly game to watch, but they got the points against St Kilda. Sometimes you've just got to get that win when it's ugly, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And Sean Burgoyne, along with Jack Gunston, was the best player on the ground. And Burgoyne was just magnificent. Just what I love about all these pieces of vision, aside from tackling a player, he just does not lose his feet. And for any kids who are watching this program, that's how you want to play your footy. Keep your feet. Just his balance, poise at this age has just been magnificent.
Yeah, he's the break glass for situations for Alistair Clarkson, isn't he? They need a clearance. Let's send him in the centre bounce. We need some composure behind the ball and that kicking. Let's send him to half back. And what we're seeing this year, we need a goal desperately. He goes to the half forward line or takes a mark like we're about to see right here.
Have you seen anything about his form this year, Jimmy, that is lesser than it's been in the past?
No, not at all.
That's
the scary thing about him. We can sign him for another 5 years and he's probably still playing this sort of footy at 40.
And someone's had a purple patch many times before, but the past 3 weeks have been right up there with his very best. Lance Franklin, John Longmire, only 3 weeks ago said to the public that he'd only been training for 20 minutes in total for the year. So 3 weeks later, he's had 26 scoring shots, 6 goals against Collingwood, 2 against Melbourne, amongst 7 scoring shots, and 5 goals against GWS on the weekend, Jimmy. Does he put himself into MVP calculations here with this patch?
Oh, it certainly does, because he's the most senior figure by quite some margin on that Swans forward line. He's playing with guys who only played a handful of games, and you can only imagine if you train for an hour how many shots he'd get on goal. You mentioned 30 minutes of training, he gets 26 shots. It underlines the importance of Phil Davis for the Giants, but it's also reflective of the Swans have got a bit of their groove back around the ball. You know, Kennedy, Kieran Jack had a good game again on the weekend. They got that contested footy back and a lot more inside 50s. That's the first time in a while that they've won that inside 50 count.
Do you like what you're seeing with the Swans? They lost to Gold Coast and then Essendon in consecutive weeks, and then they've had that stretch of 3 games to put themselves back in the hunt.
Oh, it's been a brilliant turnaround, but I look at Hawthorn and Sydney and those teams. I still think they're a long way off.
Hawthorn and
Sydney, but I'm just saying they're as well as they're going, they're a long way off the top team in Richmond, in my opinion.
The Swans are.
Yeah. They're going well though,
Yeah.
but and it's a fight for 4th spot, which we thought they could have missed the finals only weeks ago.
Yeah. So one club that's got no spark about it at the moment is Fremantle. Just got embarrassed and humiliated down there at the Cattery, Jimmy. 23 goals in a row.
Yep.
And no goals for the Dockers after quarter time.
Yeah, after quarter time, it was 147 points to 5. And as you mentioned, 23 goals. Look, I know they're young, they're doing a rebuild and they're changing over, but 133 points, that's not acceptable. Nat Fyfe did all he could, so did Lachie Neale. But, you know, is there any pressure on Ross Lyon, or is everyone really accepting that it's a rebuild going on?
There probably should be, but I don't think there is, because he's got 2 years left of a contract. It's the way they lose, Damo, when it's a style of football that they play. It's an ugly style of football.
Yeah.
It's really, where are they going?
They can't entice anyone to come along, and I'm with Lordy. Despite the 2 years contract, I'd be looking at it really closely because it's just been going on for too long now. Jimmy, it rained very heavily in your neck of the woods down there in that particular game, and some people took extraordinary measures to deal with it.
Yes, it's always tough conditions down at Geelong, and that's why they enjoy it with sleeting. Some creative types here down at Geelong using the rubbish and recycling bins to get a bit of cover. It's just some smart thinking people.
You
down
like
there.
it?
I do.
Now, Alex Rance, no one says no to Alex Rance, not when he normally puts his hand out to me.
Oh, he's a quirky man, Alex. Watch this. He looks to try and hold the little girl's hand. She doesn't want to bar it. Alex says, nah, don't worry.
Yeah.
No, she doesn't want me.
Alice thought that was hilarious. Watch Brandon Ellis's face here.
I love that about Rancy, because he's walking out for a massive game. He's so relaxed.
Brandon Ellis loved it. Devon Smith got himself in the news for the wrong reasons, but also had this to do in this game against Richmond. Yeah,
I think he might have got himself 3 votes here. Very smart. You know, work the umpires as well. Make sure they're well hydrated. Give him your number 5. Put that at the top of the list. Thanks this week.
Is that after the Camden McIntosh attempted punch?
Could have been. Yeah, could have been.
Hey, Jimmy, thank you, and thank you too, Lordo. And before we go, a reminder that our series of wash-ups begins this week. Keep an eye out for those. We'll begin with Carlton, the Suns and St Kilda. Thanks for watching Access All Areas. Goodbye.